Okay, live stream is up. Sergeant Martinez with the PC recording.
PC recording underway.
Cloud is up.
Backup is rolling.
Thank you. Sergeant Bradley with the opening statement.
Yes. Good afternoon and welcome to today's New York City Council hearing on landmarks, public sightings, and dispositions. At this time, will all panelists please turn on their videos? To minimize disruption, please place electronic devices on vibrate or on silent mode. If you wish to submit testimony, you may do so at landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Again, that is landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Thank you for your cooperation. Chair Riley, we may begin.
Good afternoon. I am Councilmember Kevin Riley, Chair of the Subcommittee on Landmarks, Public Science, and Dispositions. I am joined remotely today by Councilmember Barron, Councilmember Koo, Councilmember Miller, and Councilmember Traeger. Today we will be hearing two applications submitted by HPD for UDAPs in connection with the new Penn developments. But first, I now recognize Subcommittee Counsel to review today's hearing procedures.
Thank you, Chair Riley. I am Jeffrey Campagna, counsel to this subcommittee. Members of the public who wish to testify were asked to register for today's hearing. If you registered to testify and are not yet signed into Zoom, please sign in now. If you wish to testify and have not registered, please go to www.council.nyc.gov to sign up immediately. If you are not planning to testify on today's items, please watch the hearing on the New York City Council website. All people testifying before the subcommittee will be on mute until they are recognized to testify. Please confirm that your mic is unmuted before you begin speaking. Public testimony will be limited to 2 minutes per witness. If you have written testimony you would like the subcommittee to consider in addition to or in lieu of appearing before the subcommittee, or if you require an accessible version of a presentation given at today's meeting, please email landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Please indicate the LU number and project name in the subject line of the email. During the hearing, council members who would like to ask questions should use the Zoom raise hand function. The raise hand button should appear at the bottom of the participant panel. I will announce council members who have questions in the order that they raise their hands. Witnesses are reminded to remain in the meeting until they are excused by the chair. Lastly, there may be extended pauses if we encounter technical problems. We ask that you please be patient as we work through these issues. Chair Riley will now continue with today's agenda.
Thank you, Council. I now open up today's public hearing. We will hear application number C210109 HAK, the New Penn Development 1. This application was submitted by the Department of Housing Preservation and Development pursuant to Article 16 of the General Municipal Law and Charter Section 197C for the designation of an Urban Development Action Area, approval of an Urban Development Action Area project for such area and the disposition of city-owned property located at 306 Pennsylvania Avenue, 392 Wynona Street, 426 Wynona Street, and 467 Vermont Street in the East New York neighborhood of Brooklyn to facilitate the development of 3 new buildings with 46 affordable rental units, 8 of which would be affordable independent residences for seniors. We will also hear application number 202-15019 HAK, the new Penn Development 2 UDAP. The application was submitted by HPD pursuant to Article 16 of the General Municipal Law for approval of an Urban Development Action Area project and waiver of the area designation requirements and sections 197C and 197D of the New York City Charter for property located at 791 Saratoga Avenue, 792 Rockaway Avenue, 429 Newport Street, 303 Hinsland Street, 461 New Jersey Avenue, 432 Wynona Street, and 510 Vermont Street, also in the East New York neighborhood of Brooklyn, to facilitate the construction of 7 buildings containing a total of approximately 25 rental dwelling units plus 1 unit for a superintendent. The projects will be presented together They are located in Council District represented by Councilmember Barron. And at this time, I will allow Councilmember Barron to give any remarks regarding these projects if she may. Councilmember Barron?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to the panel for being here. I'm just looking forward to the panel's presentation because I know that there were questions that I had raised and the community board had raised. So I wanted to see how those questions have been addressed in their presentation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Barron. Council, please call the applicant panel.
The applicant panel is Libby Rolfing, Lin Zhang, Alice Friedman, and Shushma Paramad on behalf of HPD, and Aminia Buyad, Parag Mehta, Nankor Rajkuar, and Alan Smith on behalf of the development team.
Council, please administer the affirmation.
Could we please unmute the panel?
Hello.
One moment, please. Panelists, please raise your right hands and state your names one at a time.
Libby Rolfing.
Lin Zhang.
Sushma Pramod.
Alice Friedman.
Amina Boyat.
Nankor Rajkuar.
Mehta.
Alana.
everyone? All right. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this subcommittee and in answer to all council member questions?
Yes.
Yes.
I do.
Thank you. Before you begin, please state your name and affiliation again for the record, and you may begin. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Libby Rolfing. I'm the Chief of Staff at the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development. Today, we are here to present a project known as New Penn Development. The land use applications seek UDAP designation, disposition, and project approval for 10 vacant city-owned lots in Brooklyn Council District 42. The first land use item is related to the application for New Penn Development 1, located at 306 Pennsylvania Avenue, 392 Wyona Street, and 426 Wyona Street to 467 Vermont Street. The second land use item is related to the application for New Penn Development 2, located at 791 Saratoga Avenue, 792 Rockaway Avenue, 421 Newport Street, 303 Hinsdale, 461 New Jersey Avenue, 432 Wyona Street, and 510 Vermont Street. One site in the disposition area, listed as Site 122, is erroneously designated for open space uses in the East New York 1 Urban Renewal Plan. HPD is separately planning to initiate a ULURP for an urban renewal amendment to permit residential uses on Site 122 as originally intended, and that will facilitate the proposed project. The sponsors of the project, Rejoy Management and PM Architecture, both MBE certified firms, were selected through a competitive process and have proposed to develop these city-owned sites under HPD's Neighborhood Construction Program, or NCP. Under NCP, sponsors purchase city-owned or privately owned land or vacant buildings and construct multifamily buildings in order to create mid-size rental housing projects on infill sites affordable to families earning up to 80% of area median income, or AMI. This is $81,920 for a family of 3. The proposed development will consist of 10 new construction residential buildings on 10 sites with approximately 73 affordable rental units, including 8 heirs units and 2 superintendent's units. The proposed development will include a mix of studios, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom apartments. Income tiers include 0%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, and 80% of AMI, and rents will range from up to $952 for a studio at the lowest AMI tier to $2,161 for a 3-bedroom unit at the highest AMI tier. This project will also set aside approximately 10% of the units for homeless families and individuals referred from other social service agencies, such as the Department of Homeless Services. The buildings will be built to exceed enterprise green community standards, and amenities will include a laundry room, bike storage, and landscaped rear yards. Today, HPD is before the subcommittee seeking approval of the New Penn development project in order to facilitate construction of these affordable residential buildings. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our development team for their presentation.
Thank you. Can I have the PDF on the presentation? Would it be possible? Thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you. So, hi, thank you for this opportunity to present this project. My name is Amina and I'm with the development team. So this project was awarded to PM Architecture and Rajoy Management, which are two MBE firms, in 2018 through the HPD, NIHOP, and CPRFQ, and I'm very excited to present it to you today. So it's a proposed development of 10 new buildings in East New York with approximately 71 affordable rental units and 2 supers units, and all the units will be affordable to very low income and low income families and individuals. 3 of the sites with more than 4 units are currently in ULURP for UDAP project approval and disposition of city-owned land. This was certified on November 2020, and the 7 remaining sites proposed with 4 or less units on each site are accelerated UDAP sites and will also require City Council approval. Next slide, please. As you can see on the map, the proposed ULURP development sites are scattered sites and located on 3 vacant city-owned lots in East New York. They're all located within Community District 5 and are within half mile of each other. The neighborhood is mainly residential with access to mass transit. Next slide, please. Development Site 1 is 306 Pennsylvania, located on Pennsylvania Avenue, an important artery in East New York. The building is within a primary residential district, and the land is approximately 5,000 square feet with 50 feet frontage along Pennsylvania Avenue. Next slide, please. 306 Pennsylvania will be developed as a 7-story elevator building with approximately 25 affordable units, including 8 affordable independent residences for seniors, and will have also 1 additional 2-bedroom supers unit. There is a common laundry room on the first floor and an indoor bicycle storage and tenant storage room in cellar. We modified the facade design to include comments from council member, community board, and city planning, and we're using more contextual material so our design matches with the neighborhood. Next slide, please. This is Site 2, 392 Wayona, with 40 feet frontage along Wayona Street. The land is approximately 4,000 square feet and located within an R6 zoning district. Next slide, please. 392 Wayona will be developed as a 4-story walk-up building with approximately 11 affordable units. We also decided to raise the ground floor by 2'3" to provide more privacy to the first floor units, and we're also providing an access ramp. Next slide, please. Here is the development Site 3, 426 Wayona, 467 Vermont on Blake Avenue. The land is 20 feet by 200 feet, which is approximately 4,000 square feet. Next slide, please. For this building, we incorporated comments from the community board and designed 426 Wayona, 467 Vermont as a single building with 2 wings, A and B, connected in the cellar. The building will have approximately 10 affordable units and an open entrance along Blake Avenue. The rendering shown here is along Wayona Street. Its wing A is set back to match the street walls of adjacent buildings. The ground floor is raised by 30 inches to provide privacy to the first floor units. Next slide, please. Here, the rendering is showing the building along Vermont Street, which is wing B, and is 4-story high and also set back from the streets. We provided fenestration to minimize blank walls and break down the facade and maximize natural light for the vertical circulation core. Next slide, please. So on this map, you can see all 10 scattered sites, the ULURP and the accelerated UDAP sites. They're all within 1 mile of each other. Next slide, please. The 7 accelerated UDAP sites are all 3-story walk-up buildings and containing 3 to 4 units each. We will have approximately 26 affordable rental units in total. Here you can see a rendering of 1 infill lot, and all 7 buildings are proposed with mostly brick material to match designs of surrounding buildings. Next slide, please. The chart on this slide shows the number of different unit types and the percentage of each as a part of the total number of units in the whole project to reveal the income and ranges respectively. Achieving the right units and income mix was important to us, and approximately 78% of units will be affordable to households earning up to 60% AMI. 42% of the units in the entire project are family-sized 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms, while remaining units are studios and 1 bedroom. Providing a variety of apartment sizes allowed us to create housing for seniors. 8 units will be dedicated to the AIRS program, and this project will also include a 10% of homeless set aside. The affordability metric we used in this project helped us determine the desired income, which is aligned with the East New York commitments. Next slide, please. So in summary, the entirety of the project will yield 10 new energy efficient residential buildings containing 71 affordable rental units, 8 including 8 AIRS units, and 2 additional units for super. For all phases of the project, the development team, consisting of 2 MBE, are committed to hire locally and will conduct outreach to the Community Board, New York City Small Business Services, Hire NYC, and MANUP. Our targeted household income ranges are reflective of the community's need, with proposed units affordable to households earning between $30,000 and $81,000 for a family of 3. And we'll also market apartment through Housing Connect. Next slide, please. This slide shows the breakdown of our timeline as we continue to seek approvals. We aim to close on the project financing in summer 2022 and lease up in winter 2024. Last slide, please. In conclusion, the New Penn development team wishes to thank you all, and we welcome your questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you, panel. Just a few questions before I pass it over to my colleague, Councilmember Barron. Regarding the AIRS program, the CPC report for New Penn indicates that 8 of the 46 units would be affordable independent residence for seniors, or the AIRS unit, but the HPD project summary makes no mention of this. Can you clarify the difference and whether the project will include the AIRS?
Yes, it will include the 8 AIRS units.
Okay, thank you. Can you please describe your plans for ensuring MWBE and locally based contractors and subcontractors participation in the development?
Amina, do you want to take this one?
Amina, go
yes.
ahead.
Yeah. Sure. Hi. Parag will take over.
Hi, this is Parag. So our firm is MWBE, Rajoy is MWBE, and we have worked in City of New York for past 26 years, working with a lot of other engineers, contractors who are MWBE. And we have successfully completed many jobs. When the job does go out for construction, we'll put equal emphasis on hiring MWBE.
And can you describe your plans for local hiring during the construction? And if so, how many local hires are we typically looking at for a project like this?
Raj, who's also part of my team, We collectively reached out to different offices there. We met with individuals. We talked about hiring with ManUp. That's on the construction side. We will at least get few people involved in each site, depending on the expertise that we can have. There would be larger team available for sheetrocking, taping, painting. There could be people easily available to work on our daily shifts when we have to transport material. More of plumbing and electrical and the trades which require license, we may not have a stronger control on hiring them, but everything that does not seek a license, that can be done without having a licensed individual, will try and hire them on the job. That's our commitment.
So those without the license, is there like an estimated number of local hirees that we can bank on for this project?
Yes, we'll try and we didn't I'm not really prepared to give a number right now.
Okay.
But yes, our commitment is to hire local people, and we have always done in this past. I started my office in Harlem, and I did a lot of things in areas long before, Harlem movement happened. We entered Harlem 96, 97. So yes, we'll bring in local MWB.
Thank you. How can we ensure follow-up and progress reports on these commitments? For the local hiring, for the MWBE, how can we follow up and show that you guys are fulfilling your commitments for these projects?
I will need guidance on how it's actually done, because we participated, I did a lot of projects as an architect, and my resume says that from 1995 till today we did, but never played this role as a developer. So maybe I'll need some guidance on how to go about that. Like what would be typically done, like how the reporting is done, I'm not sure.
Well, I think you want to stay connected with the council member Barron, and she'll speak on that later on. But staying connected with them, staying connected with the community board, just to kind of let them know that you guys are doing local hires and still ensuring that MWBEs and local contractors are a part of this project. I think that's a good start to do so.
Sure.
And my last question before Councilmember Barron comes on is, what's the sustainability and resiliency measures are incorporated into the building design and construction of this development?
Okay. So we want to pursue passive house building. Our goal is, in general, we have completed a lot of LEED building. We also completed a passive house building, which was with all the credentials and certification. Right now, this building, the walls will be heavily insulated, which is primary requirement of passive house. We'll be using triple glazed windows. There'll be ERV units, which is energy recovery units. Other essential measures like, plumbing and all that with low flow, which is standard to HPD job. But our primarily focus is going to be on heavy insulation and high efficiency windows and ERV units.
Thank you. I would like to yield my question time to Councilmember Barron if she has any questions for this panel.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank the panel for coming for their presentation. I had questions which I had hoped you would have addressed in your presentation, which I didn't hear. I did step away, so I may have missed them. One in particular was the fact that you have a four-story building, but it is a walk-up. I know that HPD does not require elevators in a four-story building, but I asked you to consider an elevator, and I didn't hear that included in your presentation. Do you recall that I asked you about that? And if so, what is your response?
Yes, we do recall. I believe we tried to reply this in form of a letter correspondence. Our response there was that these are extremely small size buildings. So in a building this size, if we bring in a stretcher elevator today are almost size of a room with the hoistway. And putting a stretcher elevator in a 4-story building brings a lot of economical burden, like, construction cost will go up at least by $500,000 by the time we put all the hoistway walls and we put in the elevator and all the electrical feeds going. They have to be connected with the fire alarm. It has to go on auto recall. Every year we have to go for inspections. There will be maintenance contract. So keeping all those things in mind, we were thinking that the benefits of serving that last 2-3 apartments on a top floor is, in other words, there is a lot more money that's going in the job and the benefits are small. And also now we are losing a room in each apartment. So like a 2-bedroom is quite likely going to become a 1-bedroom. And likewise, we have reduction in size of units. So that was our only reason not to consider an elevator in that 4-story building. And we did put it in a form of a written narrative and send it out.
So the buildings, how many buildings are there in total?
Total, there are 10 buildings.
And 7 of them are 3-story?
So
7 of them are 3 stories, right?
Yeah, one is a 7-story, one is a 4-story, and most of them are 3-story except one building which is on a merged, like, wing A, wing B. That one is like a small brownstone with a 4-story.
Okay.
So in other words, if I would say half of one building is 4-story,
right,
and the one other building is a 4-story building.
Okay. What is the exterior? We had talked about the exterior. I'm very much concerned about blending with the existing community, and I do not favor hardy plank, which I have been told has a lifespan of approximately 50 years. So that's at the outer limit. So I do not favor hardy plank. So what is the exterior that you have planned for these buildings?
All our buildings are brick. Only the one that concern was raised on 306 Pennsylvania. The first one, the 7-story one. A 7-story building that was 306 Pennsylvania, where concern was about design.
Yes.
We are using 2 colored brick, one lighter color, one slightly darker color, with a small inlay of upseam metal in between. The reason is that whole Pennsylvania Avenue is now really changing. There are some nicer architecture building more to the north of Pennsylvania. There are some really interesting contemporary building coming up on Pennsylvania. And right next to us is a hotel, which also has a large windows and again, a 7-story building. So again, we are keeping in contextuality, keeping absolutely brick and light color brick was suggested to us. We just had little architectural detail by bringing in some metal panel.
Okay, thank you. In terms of the number of studio apartments in the total that you have, that you're building, what's the total number of buildings and how many of them are studios? Total number of apartments, I'm sorry.
Just one second.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
So the total number in all of the project is 73 units, of which 2 of them are Supers units. But the studios in total are 17.
17.
Yes.
And are the heirs apartments relegated to each of those studios, or will the heirs also include some 1-bedrooms?
Heirs will have, sorry, Sushma, you going with it?
No, just go ahead.
So heirs is studio and 1-bedroom, and it's on the elevator building, 306 Pennsylvania.
Okay, it's in the elevator building. And what is the size of the unit for the heirs?
Susma, you have things open in front of you?
Not the heirs, but
I'm happy to contribute if you don't mind.
Yes, go ahead.
I can do that. Yeah, no problem. This is Alana Smith. We have studios ranging from 370 to 401 square feet, and one bed is from 474 to 538. So to specify exactly which heirs units, I can certainly follow up with the exact figure after the fact.
Okay. And the same applies for the homeless. You know, I would like to know what is the unit size that you're designating for those families that are formerly homeless coming out of shelter. I'd like to get that information. And then finally, the chair raised the question about WMBE. I'm always concerned about Black people. And WMBEs oftentimes don't have any reflection of Black people. They have the other categories, but they don't have the Black, which in turn means that my community is in fact being used perhaps as a domestic colony, in as much as the people who are the majority of the people living here in my community, Black and Latino, are providing the base, the land, but not getting the benefit of being involved in the hiring and even in the contracting and the local hires that we're talking about. So I want to know, not the totality of WMBE, I want to know Black. I want to know Latino. So as we go through this process, and as we make these contracts and subcontracts, that's what I want to know. Because our community is being drained of its resources without getting the benefit of the economy that others are coming into our community getting the benefit of. So I'd be very mindful, I'd be very careful, I'd be very concerned to make sure that Black and Latino are part of what we talk about when we say WMBE. I did have another question, but I didn't write it down and I can't remember it. But if it comes to me, I can send it to you, and I'm sure you'll get back to me with a response. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Barron. I now invite my colleagues to ask questions. Council, I did see Councilmember Miller's hand up. I'm not sure if he still has a question. Councilmember Miller?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Councilmember Barron, for your leadership, as usual, on these issues here, land use issues. So on this application, the developer, is it one developer for Pen 1 and Pen 2?
Correct. No. That is right. It is, well, two companies, it's PM Architecture and Rajoy Management, and they are the development team, and it is both of them for all 10 buildings.
Okay, and so it's 10 buildings, how many total units?
73, including 2 supers units.
Okay. And what is the developer's relationship of past affiliations, if any, with this East New York community?
Oh, hi, my name is Nankwar Rajkumar. You could call me Raj for short. I have been affiliated to the East New York community since around 2003. My office is located at 673 Miller Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11209. In 2005, I was selected to develop and manage a scatter site consisting of 9 buildings through the NEP program. That project was successful. In 2007, I was also selected by HPD to develop 16 1-4 family units to be sold to low and moderate income first-time home buyers that project was also successful. In 2015, I applied for this RFQ, and through a rigorous competitive process, I was selected to develop and manage these 10 buildings consisting of 73 units.
Okay, so your relationship is as far as a developer. Are there any other relationships that your company has with the community itself? Do you employ folks from the community do you have any folks from the community in your employ? Do you have you employed folks from the community on your previous projects within the East New York communities? That was my question in terms of affiliations.
Well, most likely we did that employed. What happens is that in the beginning we selected a contractor who did most of the selections. Now that Councilmember Barron wants that, we will definitely ensure that we go to her office and get some of the recommended names or so. We can reach out to those MWBEs, especially of Black and Hispanic personnel.
And who's the contractor that you utilize, construction company?
Who's the contractor for this project?
Correct.
It's going to be PM Architecture, my partner.
And what's their construction background?
Parag?
Sorry, can we unmute Amina? Thank you.
Okay, hi. So PM Architecture, we have been working in construction industries from 1995 to now. In my resume, like, things that we did in Harlem today we have always hired MWB company to the point that our masons are Hispanics. Our steel guy is a Black-owned company. Two of my super who are since with me from 1999 till today, they're Black guys. We actually have more minority workers than anything else. I think we probably have 80% minority worker. Not that we tried very hard to do that, but it just happened that way. So
how much of your company's business is affordable housing? How much of the portfolio is affordable housing?
In the business that I did as architecture, we have a huge affordable housing. On other side, when whatever I did has probably 30% affordable housing.
And Raj, for your side of the business, how much of the business is affordable housing?
100%.
100%?
Yes.
How much of it is, do you develop land that you own, or is it all by virtue of RFPs on city-owned land?
RFPs on city-owned land.
Okay, and then I have a question, and it's probably more of an HPD question. I noticed that even at 80% of AMI here in East New York, and it's something that we're experiencing in the greater Jamaica area and throughout the city with the decline in rents throughout the city, that we're seeing that market rate that we're seeing now, that affordabilities at 80, 100% are exceeding market rates in many of these communities. Is there a mechanism of making that adjustment before we go into this project now? Because as I look at some of the numbers at 80% at nearly $2,300, that certainly exceeds the market rate of East New York.
So our policy generally is that our affordability is adjusted at the time of closing. So with this project, it would be 2022. So all of the newer income data that we have will be incorporated into the affordability of these units at the time of closing. The one argument about market rate units being a lot more affordable now is that they are inconsistently affordable, and we're not sure how affordable they will be in the future. But all of our HPD buildings are under a 60-year regulatory term, so they're definitely affordable for the next 60 years at least, with an option to renew after that.
Okay, so obviously, council member office will certainly be available and paying attention during the time of closing, so that we make sure it's consistent with, like I said, it's something that we are seeing all over the city now, where affordable housing has significantly outpaced market rate in certain areas of the city, and you know, it is difficult when people are pinched that they're actually spending $500-600 or more a month on affordable housing than they are on market rate housing in some areas.
Yeah, and I appreciate we appreciate that feedback for sure. And just anecdotally, you know, we heard from the district manager for 5 that there are, even though 80% is, you know, that seems high, but I think they're also getting feedback that there are those in the community where their kids have gotten older and, you know, they've become professionals and they want to stay in the community, and, you know, and that is like the range that they're able to sort of stay, and that applies to some of the studios and the 1-bedrooms as well. So certainly I think this project kind of provides a nice range. It has a little bit of everything, and we would definitely like to revisit that, like once it's ready to close, to see how it matches up with
No, I'm okay with that number, although Councilmember Barron may feel differently about it.
Yeah.
I have a different perspective of it. I do believe the only way for us to attract and retain our greatest minds of our children staying at home is to be able to provide housing for them. I'm just a little concerned about the formula that we're using now and whether or not affordability is outpacing market rate because of, you know, the COVID times that we find ourselves in. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Councilmember Barron, obviously, I look forward to working with you, assisting you in any way we can on this project here. As usual, thank Mr. Chair, thank you for your leadership. I have to jump in again. Thank you, and thank you all for answering the questions as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Miller. Councilmember Barron, did you want to ask that last question, or are you good?
Yes, thank you. I don't have any further questions. I did want to thank the acknowledgement that the community board had raised about that upper level of 80%. And I just want to tell Councilmember Miller, we will be in touch because I appreciate that other perspective that you brought to our conversation, and we will certainly be in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Barron. And just to echo Raj and Baruch, I really think Councilmember Miller was talking about the participation in the community, really engaging with members in the community, because a lot of times we do see developers building new developments in the community, and they really have no community partnerships or engagement that goes beyond construction. So I think that's what he was kind of alluding to. So just keep that in mind, you know, moving forward for future projects.
Yeah, we will definitely reach out to the committee board.
Thank you, Raj. I really appreciate that. And thank you, Councilmember Miller and Councilmember Barron, for always advocating and making sure that developers are paying attention to the communities. Council, are there any more questions from any council members?
There are no other council member questions.
Okay. There being no more questions for this panel is excused. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify on this item?
At this time, all witnesses intending to testify on these items should log in or call into Zoom. At the present moment, we have one public witness, Buana Pei Kazizo. Please forgive me for the pronunciation. Members of the public will be given 2 minutes to speak. Please do not begin until the Sergeant at Arms has announced the time has started.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Bawana. I'm sorry if we're pronouncing your name wrong.
No problem. Thank you.
Please state your name and affiliation before you begin, and then you may begin.
My name is Buana Pae Kizito. My name is Buana Pae Kizito, and I am the president of Buana Foundation.
You may begin with your testimony.
Thank you so much. So as we know in Brooklyn, Brooklyn is changing. There's a lot of gentrification going on. I should not have to explain what that is and everything. But developers come in the community without really understanding the history of the community. And because Black people and Hispanics are the original members of this community, they need to be included in this debate and listened to and respected in this process. It is very important. When developers come into community, they're changing the community into whatever image they want to make it look like and attract new customers into it. And that's great, that's business. But it's very important that Blacks and Hispanics be hired in this process with these contracts and that they benefit from it and not be victim of this process. Since it's been years now that they've been trying to gentrify Brooklyn, starting from Brooklyn Bridge and going east, it's now a process that we've seen before, where if you ask tenants or older community members, they're not satisfied with what has happened to their community. Therefore, I think that developers need to really be engaged and have specifics on what they plan on doing for Black people and Hispanics. Even though it is a business decision, it's not charity, it's nothing like that, but it is a commitment that needs to be made. Where community members see new developers coming in, okay, what can I get from that? Are you gonna hire me? Are you gonna help my community strive? These are the questions that we need to answer, that developers need to answer, wherever they wanna go into New York. And Harlem is one place that has been left alone for a long time, around Marcus Garvey Park, Washington Heights in the Bronx. These communities will be next, and I've been there many times. And
Time expired.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bawana, you could continue. You could finish up.
Thank you so much. So I've been there, thank you so much. So I've been there many times, and I've been to Marcus Garvey Park, he has been left alone. And I think communities in Harlem, Bronx, Washington Heights, Southside Jamaica, Queens, Left Rack, Queensbridge, all these communities have been left alone and left behind for decades, since the 60s. So if we want to renovate, how about we help the community that's already there, not trying to change it, help it. So if you want to develop a building, great, then promise to hire the kids and the people that are already there. It's very important. We cannot just put buildings in there and say, we'll talk about it later, we'll see what happened. No, you get there, you put your bricks, you put your building, you set it up, great. Now, the people that are around this building, what do they get from it? That is the major question. What do they get from it? And if they get a job from it, if they get any type of prospects, job prospects or anything like that, then great. But if it's just to come in there and then leave them alone and push them back further into other places around the neighborhood, that's not the way to go. So there needs to be a real commitment, not just building businesses, not just building industrial complex or anything, but real commitment. So I just wanted to say that. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony, Bawana. I think that is on everyone's mind here. Councilmember Barron, myself, and the rest of the committee, we really want to express and emphasize to developers to make sure that community involvement is something that they're taking care of when they're coming into a new community, especially when it comes with the local hiring process. So everything that you stated and sentiments, we feel the same way. We encourage you and thank you so much for coming today and sharing your testimony. And we will continue to fight for you within the city council to make sure that these developers coming into our communities are making sure that they having a lot of community involvement. And with that being said, I'm not sure if Councilmember Barron has anything to add to that. Councilmember Barron?
Thank you. Just want to thank Mr. Quezito for his comments and say that we are in line with what it is that you're saying, that we need to make sure our community is recognized, appreciated, and respected and involved. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Council, are there any more members of the public that wish to testify?
Chair Riley, there are no other members of the public who wish to testify on these items.
There being no other members of the public who wish to testify on these items, the public hearing on application C 210109 HAK, the new Penn Development 1, and 202-15019 HAK, the new Penn Development 2 UDAP are now closed and the items are laid over. That concludes today's business. I remind you that if you have written testimony on today's item, you may submit it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Once again, that is landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Please indicate the land use number or the project name in the subject heading. I would like to thank the applicants, the members of the public, my colleagues, subcommittee council, land use staff, and Sergeant at Arms for participating in today's hearing. This meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you.